What's up, YouTube? Welcome to the Coffee Pod. My name is Chisha Zed.
Drink the coffee, it'll make you feel better.
Woman says, I married a nice guy. My husband was a nice guy, but I still divorced him and don't regret it. Don't believe me? Check it out for yourself. Let's get it.
Married to a nice guy who was pro-therapy. I'm going to tell you guys what that was like for me.
Let's
I remember
talk.
when we first got together, everybody was so excited because he was such a nice guy. Everybody was like, oh my God, Christine, we've seen you in just such a string of terrible relationships. We're so happy to see you with a nice guy. And I remember the first time I confronted him on treating me poorly in front of our friends at dinner one night and him slamming on the car brakes to intimidate me because he's such a nice guy. I remember the first time he tried to tell me who I could and could not spend time with. And when I pushed back, he escalated so viciously that he started hitting himself, threatened to kick me out of our apartment, threatened to call the police on me, and threatened to drain our joint banking account because he's such a nice guy.
Something's not adding up right there. Threatened to call the police on you. Why would he threaten to call the police on you? Because he didn't like that you were hanging around with other guys, I'm assuming? I don't know. He's giving Jonah Hill's ex. But I might be wrong. Let's keep listening.
You know, when I would talk to people around me about this, they'd be like, oh God, I'm so surprised to hear this, but he's such a nice guy. But you know what? Relationships do bring out the worst in us sometimes, you know? And maybe there's something that you're doing to trigger him because, you know, he's such a nice guy. I remember the first day that suddenly there could not be any dishes in the sink anymore when he got home from work. Because, you know, his parents were hoarders and he grew up in filth and he just could not have a dirty environment. Never mind the fact that the apartment he was living in before we got together was a pigsty. When he lived alone, it was fine, but suddenly there's a woman in the house and he's got to have order. Everything's got to be in its place. Everything has to be spick and span. That's what he needs.
Let me tell you what probably happened there, guys. Do you honestly think that that guy was like, now that you're here, you're going to do the stuff I can't do? It's probably not the motivation behind that. In most cases, in these type of situations where a man goes overboard, and yes, I do mean overboard. A guy can go overboard with like, hey, why aren't the dishes washed? Why aren't this done? And yes, he can be overbearing sometimes. Why? Because the woman's being absolutely lazy.
Drink the coffee, it'll make you feel better.
It's him coming home after working long and hard and finding dishes in the sink. And you are an able-bodied person walking around who's had all the time in the world. And he looks at you and goes like, what did you do all day? What are you doing? What are you doing all day? Let's keep watching.
You know, to feel emotionally secure. That's what he needs from me in order to show up in our relationship and start giving me the emotional intimacy that I want, you know? And you know, how great of him to communicate that to me because he's such a nice guy. I remember one fight we had where I walked away from him and closed the bedroom door behind me and he punched a hole in that door. And I thought I was done then. And I thought I would be supported in being done then. But, you know, he threw the curveball of couples therapy and
Listen, guys, I have to talk about that. You want to be careful and control your emotions with this chicks, with just anybody in general. You know, punching walls through the hole. And guys, I know we don't know his side of the story. She might have been trying to chase him around with a baseball bat, but we're going off the assumption right now that he punched the wall out of anger. You want to control yourself as much as possible physically, because if they had kids and if they were married, which I think I've done a video of this chick from in the past, if they can prove all that shit, then you look like a monster. And you may think, well, a man can't express himself. A man has to be able to control how he expresses himself more than a woman, because we just live in a world where you don't get as many excuses for lashing out. Yes, you have to protect yourself. Yes, you have to, as a man, control your emotions, because a man who cannot control his emotions is deemed as an out of control man. Drink the coffee.
Drink the coffee, it'll make you feel better.
Some of you guys are going to somehow figure out a way to argue about that. I can punch anything I want. Cool. All right, you'll go into court and see how that plays out for you afterwards, after that marriage.
everybody and their mom was like, oh my God, he's willing to heal for you. My husband won't even go to therapy. What a nice guy. I didn't want to do couples therapy with this man, but everybody told me that I was being difficult.
That's going to be in the thumbnail. This chick is crazy, guys. If you guys haven't realized by now.
And unfair to him, so I did it. And I remember when our couples therapist asked him to look me in the eyes and realize that all of his behavior was harming me. And I remember seeing the resentment in his eyes as he was being told by a professional that he was not, in fact, entitled to treat me the way that he had been for so long, because he was such a nice guy. And, you know, like towards the end of our marriage, when I started to get like lean and fit and like feel really confident in my body and start to show my body off for the first time ever as an adult, it was
showing her body off to other men, signaling that she's ready to monkey branch. And that's what she's doing. You know, when women start working out and losing weight, you know the relationship is over. Can it be any more obvious?
oh, babe, you're getting thin. I can see your ribs right now. He was just looking out for my health, you know, because he was such a nice guy. And after lying to me and emotionally manipulating me and emotionally terrorizing me for about 7 years, after our divorce was finalized, he went and sat in front of my parents like a beat dog and was basically like, I'm so sorry that I was not enough for your daughter, you know, because he's a nice guy.
You would think that somebody would appreciate that. What do you guys think of that? Like, I'm talking about the last part. She says, going to the parents and be like, hey, I'm sorry things didn't work out. Maybe you had a good relationship with them. What do you guys think? Comment down below. The chick's obviously not all the way there. Like I said, giving very much Jonah Hill's ex. The first problem that she talked about there, about her hanging out with people who her husband didn't want her hanging out with, those were probably guys. Again, the importance of making sure you have certain discussions and understandings of what you expect and what you're looking for in your ideal spouse, if you want to get married or relationship, whatever it may be, cannot be overemphasized enough. Check out a few of these comments, see what the people have to say. First comment here says, not to say that he wasn't a wolf in sheep's clothing, but it'd be nice to get his side of the story, with the shoulder shrug. Another person who says, why, oh why did you marry the nice guy, ... put up with it for 7 years and then vent on here to warn others of the nice guy. I just want to understand. Another comment here says, I just filed for divorce from a nice guy. Look at that. All right, we all know that it's to the point now where women are saying it doesn't matter if the guy's good. If he's a good man, you should still leave him if you're bored out of your mind. It goes on to say, as long as he can maintain his external image, he looks like a nice guy. You got to be careful out here, man. You got to be careful, because for a lot of these women, for anybody, if you're looking for a reason to leave, you will leave. Another comment here says, that's not that nice guy / nerd has left me with trauma I'm still working through. Here's another comment that says, my whole family cut me out because my ex-husband is / was, in quotations, such a nice guy. Your whole family cut you off and took your ex-husband's side? I don't know. Sounds like you did some shit. Here's another comment that says, nice guys are only nice in public. In private, that mask comes off and what's underneath is much scarier. Here's another comment that says, the way people backed up this behavior, somebody else had it. My soon-to-be ex was literally the nicest man I've ever met. After 5 years, he was literally the Antichrist. Nice guys are not always nice. So for 5 years, you think that he was pretending? I could understand a year or two. 5 years. Here's another comment that says, this is why I stayed, because everyone told me to. You're so right. Oh, this chick's about to leave her, man. Listen, crazy shit, as always. Let me know what you guys think. Till next time, I'm out. Peace.